Hello friends, welcome to the ATC Double Cut. In this episode, we'll take a look at a recent blog post where I am explaining why when your soil nutrient levels are above the MLSN value, I don't interpret that as we only need to apply nitrogen until the nutrient levels go down in the soil. In some ways, we could interpret it like that, but in other ways, I think we want to predict how fast the nutrient levels will go down. So if we're using MLSN by the book, if we're doing MLSN the way that I do it, then we won't interpret it to mean exactly that simply if your soil nutrient levels are above MLSN, you don't need to apply potassium, you don't need to apply phosphorus, and so on, because the grass is alive, it's using nutrients, and the levels are going down, and they're already lower right now. If your grass is alive and growing, they're already lower than they were at the time when you collected the samples. So let's jump into that blog post. The title of the blog post is "We Only Need to Apply N?" And as usual, I will put a direct link to this post in the show notes so that you can check it out for yourself. This is a quote because I was responding to an email, and the email inquiry arrived with this text. It said, "Hi Micah, looking at the MLSN guidelines and our recent test results, all our levels are above what's required. Does this mean we only need to apply N until levels come down?" And here's how I answered. And I answered with two things, because I've written about this before, and I'm sure I've talked about it here on the ATC Double Cut before also. So I just looked up a couple things that I'd written on the topic, and as I reflected on it, after I sent the reply, I made a note to myself that I think actually the soil report extract at the end is the better explanation. What do I mean by soil report extract? Well, that's some text that I include in every ATC soil test report explaining what MLSN is, what the current minimum values are, and how I go about making the recommendations for MLSN. I included a picture in the blog post of the beautiful turf at the soccer stadium in Kashima. The team that plays there, the Kashima Antlers, just won the championship from the J1 League. So that's good. I've provided some advice to that stadium and to the company that has done the maintenance there for many years. And the grass there is always, every time I visit, it's better than I expected. And I was so glad to see them win the championship again. So I put a picture of beautiful grass at this soccer stadium. It used to be called Kashima Soccer Stadium. I know many of you listening will know this sport as football, and I often refer to it as football. And maybe the stadium's been rebranded. I'm not sure if it's still called a soccer stadium. Anyway, I put a caption there. I said, "Grass uses nutrients from the soil as it grows. So the soil test value you have today is not the soil test value you will have a month from now." This is a dynamic process, and MLSN accounts for this explicitly by looking at what your soil test level is now and then looking into the future at how much your grass is expected to use. And we make a fertilizer recommendation to make sure that we don't just wait around for the soil nutrient levels to drop below the MLSN value, but ideally we will be supplying nutrients in a quantity that will prevent the soil from dropping below the MLSN value. And there's some subtle differences in that I hope will... I hope the differences will be clear to you. This is unfortunately is one of those topics that I have worked on so much, and I've thought about it so much, and it's just kind of second nature to me that this is how it works. And if you're coming from a background of looking at how soil tests are conventionally interpreted, how people often seem to think about soil tests, that it's just like you're at a good level and you don't need to add anything, or you're not at a good level and you need to add something. That's not, to me, an ideal way to do it. So anyway, I tried to answer this very simple question about, do we only need to apply N or not? It's a simple question. Here's how I answered it. First, I took an extract from MLSN newsletter number 23. If you're not getting this newsletter and you're interested in turf nutrition, you can sign up for that newsletter at the newsletters tab or the newsletters page on the ATC website. There's also a link to this in the show notes. So make sure you're getting the MLSN newsletter, and you'll be getting 3, maybe 4 emails per year with recent updates about turf nutrition and about MLSN specifically. Let me read a couple of the extracts from that. I noted that with MLSN, the interpretation is different. There's not a medium range for an element. There's no high range either. We just have the MLSN value. And the interpretation goes something like this. If the soil tests above the MLSN minimum, then one can be confident that there was enough of that element present to meet the GRAS requirements at the time the sample was collected. If the soil test result for an element is below the MLSN minimum, there still might be enough of the element to meet the GRAS requirements, but now I'm not so confident about that anymore. And the reason I'm not so confident is because a soil testing below the MLSN value has a test result for that element that's in the lowest 10% of turfgrass soils that still produce good turf. So we certainly can have good turf at that level of an element in the soil if it's below the MLSN value, but we should realize that there's not very many soils out there that are that low that are producing good turf. So I recommend proceeding with caution. You probably want to add that element as fertilizer. So that is just the dichotomous interpretation of, if we're above, I'm really confident that we can have good turf. And my confidence decreases as we get below the MLSN value and lower and lower and lower, because there's not so many soils out there that actually are producing good turf with nutrient levels that low. Now, that's just the yes or no. Do we need to add fertilizer, or do we wait? But the way I make recommendations is I predict when we will approach the MLSN level if we're above it. So if we're above MLSN, the grass is using nutrients. It's using those nutrients that are coming from the soil or from fertilizer. So if we combine how much nutrients are in the soil, how much the grass is growing, and how much fertilizer we're applying, we can figure out, or we can estimate when the soil may drop to the MLSN value, and we can apply fertilizer preventatively or in advance of dropping below that value, so that we don't just wait and wait and wait, and then we test a year from now and we realize, oh no, now we drop down considerably below the MLSN value. We can apply fertilizer to stay right at or above the MLSN value. So I added there that keeping in mind that the grass is alive and that the soil nutrient levels today are already lower than they were a couple weeks ago when you collected that soil sample, one needs to consider how much of an element is required to keep the soil from dropping below the MLSN value. And that was the first explanation. And then I added another thing that I copied and pasted into this email reply. And that is the section taken directly from an ATC soil test report where I am explaining about MLSN. This I thought was a slightly clearer explanation, so let me read this also. Quote, if your soil test is above the MLSN guideline in Table 1, then you don't need to add that element, at least not today. You can be confident that high quality turf grass can be produced in soils with that quantity of the element. If your soil is below the guideline, you can have high quality turf grass too, but you should be aware that there are few soils producing high quality turf grass with nutrient levels that low. You'll probably want to add enough of the element to raise it above the MLSN guideline. That's only the situation for today. Is your grass alive? We hope so. If it is, then it is using nutrients. The nutrient content in the soil is going to be lower tomorrow than it was today, unless your grass is dead or dormant, because the grass uses nutrients. To really use the MLSN guidelines, we need to look not at today, but into the future. And that's what I have done to generate the recommendations in this report. There is a lot of information. The related posts that are showing below have a lot of information about how we can go about calculating that. So you can hire me to do the soil testing and make recommendations, and I will make the calculations for you, or make calculations that can support the calculations that you are also making yourself. Or you can study about it. So the related posts that are showing at the bottom of this have titles like Soil Nutrients and Extra Beer. That post has some calculations about this, or some instructions about how you figure it out. Other related posts, the time component of soil test interpretation. I haven't looked at that one for a while, but based on the title, I am sure that it deals with that. Another one is soil testing on the Cornell Turfgrass show, and that one might be related to a discussion that Carl Scamenti and I have had about this very topic, about, yes, MLSN works if you simply make a decision yes or no to apply fertilizer based on whether the soil is above MLSN for that nutrient. However, I don't think that's the best way to do it, and I almost always recommend doing it the way that I prefer doing it. And another one, Jim Arthur, MLSN and precision fertilization, that probably deals with it also. So you can hire me to help you out with this, and make some recommendations for you based on this. Or if you want to figure it out yourself, I've written about this at length, and there's plenty of information about this, so you can figure it out yourself, how you can predict when the soil is going to drop below the MLSN value. So that is the first ATC double cut of 2026. And let's see. Yeah, that's the first ATC double cut of 2026. And I am so glad that you're listening. I'm glad that you're interested in these semi-technical turfgrass topics. They are also very practical turfgrass topics, and getting the right amount of nutrients and making sure that your grass is supplied with all the nutrients it can use without over applying and without having to worry about dropping below some value that could cause a limitation in nutrient supply to the grass and a limitation in turf quality. That's not something that I ever want to worry about in professional turfgrass management. So I find it so effective and efficient to use the MLSN method to figure out how much to apply, because that puts everything on cruise control. We don't need to worry about nutrients very much anymore if we do that. So we can devote our energy, our mental energy, and our limited time, our limited amount of thinking time, our limited amount of mental energy, our limited amount of working time. We can devote it to things like staff training, like soil water management, like making sure the mowers are cutting properly, like optimizing those kind of things that are much more complicated than turf nutrition. Turf nutrition can be really, really easy. And there's people like me who might make it seem complicated sometimes, but actually it's really simple. It's just, if we study it very deeply, we can get into all of the details, and then we can make a simple recommendation, which is use something like MLSN and make a prediction of when the nutrients are going to run out. And then you can apply fertilizer at a rate that will prevent that. And that is quite simple. All right. Thanks everyone for listening and for watching. I will be back again soon with more interesting turfgrass information. For now, I will sign off for ATC from Hokuriku, Japan. I'm Michael Woods. Bye-bye.